I won't be safe in Central Jail if people find out.
Stef heads to therapy, and a stressful situation brings Callie and Aaron closer together. Let's break down Season 5, Episode 14 of The Fosters, titled Scars, right here on What Happened. Well, hello there, you Lisa here with your weekly Foster's Fix. So this week's episode had 4 main storylines dealing with Jude, Grace, Stef, and Callie. Now, per usual, before getting to the longer recap, let's do a little bit of a Cliff Notes version. For Stef, she goes to the doctor and her gyno thinks that she may have perimenopause, so Stef doesn't think she has to go to therapy since it doesn't seem like it's anxiety. After having a panic attack, though, at the store, she ends up talking to a therapist, and it's no surprise that it seems like Tess and Dean moving in next door and all that drama has triggered her anxiety and panic attacks. Since Jude talked to Noah, he's refrained from flirting on the streams with Declan, which apparently is making the streams really boring. Declan convinces Jude that they really gotta do it to keep their viewers, so Jude goes and talks to Noah eventually after trying to send Taylor in to mediate. Noah says that he's okay with the flirting as long as it's just for show. Now, of course, Jude, he may be oblivious, but it's obvious to anybody that Declan has the hots for Jude in real life, too. For Grace, she's back in the hospital for the next step in her treatment. Her dad surprisingly shows up, which causes some tensions because her parents did not end things on good terms. Brandon plays mediator and middleman and eventually alleviates the situation. Grace has her next procedure done, and she asks the doctor for some paperwork, which covers who gets to make the decisions regarding her health should she be unable to make them. Instead of writing her parents down, Grace actually puts down Brandon's name. As far as Callie goes, the ICE agent following her actually just wants to help, and he warns them about a raid that's going to happen at a local high school. Callie, Aaron, and Mariana try to warn the students, but Aaron ends up getting shoved into an ICE agent and arrested and booked, which causes concerns for him and his safety in jail since he's transgender. He ends up put in solitary but gets released when an ICE agent corroborates his story. He and Callie share a steamy kiss, but ultimately Callie says she's not ready to get back together with Aaron. As far as the title of the episode goes, it's Scars, and it refers to the portrait Callie has drawn of Aaron shirtless. She didn't draw in his scars, and she asks him if he wants her to, and Aaron thinks about it, and after everything that happens to him in this episode, he tells Callie to draw in the scars, and that he's ready to share his story in hopes that it'll make a change. So that's the somewhat short version of this episode. I'm still honestly not fully sold on this whole Jude storyline, but I get that they kind of want something lighter to balance everything out since every other character on the show seems to be going through something pretty heavy and emotional. I'm also pretty interested to see what else Stef learns about herself in therapy and if she's going to continue to try to deny what's going on and what's triggering her. But I hope that whatever it is, whatever she finds out, it doesn't mess with Lena and Stef. That's enough rambling from me though, so let's go to the longer recap. First up, let's tackle Jude and his situation. Jude, Declan, and Taylor are still doing their stream, and Declan and Taylor are serving up all the jokes while Jude's kind of just sticking to being the boring, informative one.
What's your favorite position?
Like he'd know. Jude's like olive oil, extra virgin.
After the stream is over, Declan pretty much calls the stream a snooze fest and says if they don't heat things back up, no one's really going to want to tune in. Jude then explains that he can't be flirty with Declan, but Declan points out it's all just an act, no harm, no foul. They got to give the fans what they want so that the fans will in turn give them what they want, and Declan shows off these headphones that a fan sent them. He tells Jude to just play along and talk to Noah and things will be great because everybody will get what they want. Well, Jude doesn't really want to talk to Noah after what happened the last time they talked, so he recruits Taylor to do his dirty work. Meanwhile, Jude is enjoying his new headphones when Lena asks where he got them, and Jude then gets a scolding from Stef and Lena about privacy and how it's not appropriate to have fans buy them things, and pretty much the dangers of being a so-called influencer and, putting information out online. All that good safety stuff. Later, Noah comes to talk to Jude and they recreate the cute trust exercise that they did the first time they met at the church. Noah tells Jude that he trusts him and if gamers need someone to look up to, it should be Jude. So he then gives his blessing for Jude and Declan to flirt as long as it's strictly on screen only. Well, at their next stream, Jude turns up the flirting and the stream is a success. When Declan calls Jude cute after they're done, it definitely raises some eyebrows with Taylor, who then watches Declan hug Jude goodbye a little too long and then sees Declan grab his butt. Jude sees Taylor's concern and he insists that he's not into Declan, so it doesn't matter as long as it's one-sided, things are gonna be fine. Oh, sweet, sweet, cute, naive Jude. don't you know you're just digging yourself into a bigger hole here? Like, things are just gonna get out of hand and it's not gonna be pretty. But to alleviate the situation with Taylor, Jude just gives her the headphones that he was supposed to send back. Now moving on to Stef. She's been prescribed a mild sedative for anxiety from her doctor, who thinks she may be in perimenopause since Stef doesn't recall having any history with anxiety or depression. When Lena asks Stef if she's still going to reschedule her therapy appointment, Stef says she doesn't really think she needs to since it seems like her problem is physiological. Well, things take a turn for the worse when Dean shows up to return Stef's tools and he drops the bomb that Tess has asked for separation. Now, he has no idea why still, but Stef refuses to tell him because it's not really her place, but all that just causing more stress to build up for Stef. At the grocery store, it all comes to a head when Stef ends up suffering a very bad panic attack and has to call Brandon to come get her. She insists that she's never felt like that before, but Brandon brings up a time when he was little and he and Mike had to go pick her up at the bank because she had a panic attack, and he says it was right before the divorce. Stef continues to withhold the truth about what she's going through from Lena when Lena asks where the groceries are for dinner. After helping Aaron out, Stef then does head to therapy, where she finally starts to open up and talk about what she was thinking about before the panic attack, and the therapist suggests that it's having Stef's first love, Tess, who is questioning her sexuality, move in next door, that might be triggering Stef's anxiety. Stef, of course, disagrees with the doctor and says that has nothing to do with it, so it seems like Stef is going to continue her denial, which will ultimately probably just cause more stress and will lead to either another severe panic attack or just some kind of blow up in general. Next, what's going on with our Walk to Remember couple? Grace is clear from infection, so it's time to have her T-cells put back in. Things kind of get turned upside down though when her dad Henry shows up to be with her, and it's pretty obvious that Susan and Henry did not end things on good terms. The tensions are high between these two, and Brandon asks Grace why she didn't have a relationship with her dad because he seems like a pretty good guy. She reveals that she saw how devastated her mom was when her dad left, that she thought if she asked to spend time with her dad, her mom would think that she was taking his side, so she kind of just avoided it all and ignored her dad. Throughout the episode, the tensions continue to rise between Henry and Susan, and Brandon learns that the split was caused because Henry had an affair with the nurse. Henry finally snaps at Susan, telling her to quit rehashing the past and to get a life, and to stop using Grace as an excuse for why she hasn't moved on. Susan later takes a walk with Brandon, telling him to not tell Grace about the affair because she doesn't know about it. Brandon then talks about how he felt when his parents divorced, and ultimately makes Susan realize how stuck in the middle Grace has felt. This seems to really resonate with Susan, and she makes an effort to change things now, so she actually goes home for a bit to allow Grace some time with Henry. After Grace's procedure, we also see a doctor or nurse walk in with some paperwork she requested, and it seems like she wants to keep this hidden from Brandon as she asks him to go get her a drink. The paperwork that she has asked for appoints someone of her choosing as her healthcare agent to make decisions for her should she be unable to make them for herself. Now, instead of writing down her parents, which would be the obvious choice, she writes down Brandon's name, and I feel like this is foreshadowing that Grace is pretty much going to at some point be hanging by a thread when it comes to life or death, or in a coma or something, and it's going to force Brandon to maybe come and fight with her parents over what to do, and then ultimately it's going to have him make the decision since his name is on the paperwork. I mean, why else would they show this paperwork, right? And bring up this whole plot line? I actually hope that it doesn't come to this, because it's just devastating for anyone to have to make that decision about someone's life, especially an 18-year-old kid who's in love. Like, I can't even imagine what that would be like. Now, if all that wasn't bringing some stress, get ready for the Callie and Aaron storyline. So last episode left us with a pretty ominous feeling as we saw the ICE agent from Jimena's case kinda stalking Callie. First, it kind of felt like he wanted to hurt Callie, or maybe wanted revenge, or to confront her for some reason. Praise the Lord though, because this guy actually turns out to be a good guy. Now, I'm pretty sure in the episode they say his name is Alan. If it's not, I don't care, I'm still gonna call him Alan. He stops Callie on the street and apologizes and admits that they were going off someone's word, saying Jimena made threats towards the government, and he only changed his mind when he actually saw the footage of the video. Callie really does not want to hear Alan's apology, but he tells her he thought he was making the country safer when he started his job 30 years ago, but he's seen how ICE has changed now and it's been for the worse, and he knows it's not right. He then offers her some information which Callie relays to Aaron, Jimena, and Mariana. ICE has a mandate to go after undocumented kids that just turned 18 so they can legally detain them to fill quotas. They're planning a raid at a high school this week, and Alan's going to give them a heads up because he wants them to record the situation in order to expose it. Unfortunately, Jimena's going to have to sit this one out, but she and Mariana still have time to tease Callie about her relationship with Aaron, asking if they're going to get back together, to which Callie says she doesn't know. Callie then enlists Aaron to help her work on a piece for her portfolio. She draws a portrait of him shirtless, and he notices that she didn't draw his scars. She says she didn't know if he wanted her to, and he tells her he's not ashamed of them and he loves his body, to which Callie gets a little flirty, saying she loves his body too. She then asks how he feels about people seeing them if she does draw them in, because wouldn't it be kind of outing Aaron? He pauses and then tells her he needs time to think about it when it comes to drawing the scars on the drawing. Early in the morning, Callie then gets a call from Alan about a raid that's going to go down at Central High, and they're going to be looking for 3 kids. She, Mariana, and Aaron try to warn the principal and the students, but no one really seems to be taking them seriously. They then see school buses pull up and realize that the buses aren't on school grounds, so ICE can get the kids from the bus, and the trio starts shouting warnings to the kids because they don't know which 3 kids ICE is targeting. ICE then shows up and captures one kid as Callie films, and then another kid starts running as an ICE agent pursues him, but then someone else shoves Aaron into that ICE agent, causing the ICE agent to arrest Aaron for obstruction or something of that sort. Now Alan is there and sees the whole situation, but he can't really do much because he doesn't want to expose himself. Callie is pretty angry when she meets up with him later, and she wants him to talk to the cops to free Aaron and tell him what he saw, but Alan says that he can't because ICE already suspects that there was a leak about the raid, and if he says anything, alarms are going to be set off, and he's not ready to sacrifice his job. Meanwhile, Aaron gets put in a holding cell, and he calls Callie and tells her that he has to get out of there because if he's processed, he'll be strip searched and he won't be safe in jail. Callie ends up calling Stef, who comes to be by Aaron's side, but unfortunately, they're going to book Aaron. Stef tells him that she really thinks he should disclose his situation, so Aaron tells the guards he's transgender, and they don't really know what to do with him at this point. We then see Callie working on her portrait of Aaron, and Jimena comes and compliments it, and she tells Callie that she knows that Callie's in love with Aaron no matter what she tries to say. And then Callie gets a call from Aaron. He's back in his apartment, and he was put in solitary because the police had no idea what to do with him. Then he was set free because an ICE agent corroborated his story that he was shoved by someone into the agent, and Callie assumes that it was Alan who had a change of heart. Aaron then reveals that he wants Callie to add his scars into the portrait because he thinks people need to hear his story even though it might be a hard one to tell. He doesn't really want to deal with it, but he thinks that if they don't put a human face to what's going on, nothing's going to change. The events of the day have obviously taken a pretty emotional toll on both Aaron and Callie, and it's pushed them together, and they end up making out a little, but Aaron stops himself to tell Callie that he did go on a date with someone, but if they're planning on getting back together, he won't see the other woman again. Now Callie could go 2 ways here. She could say, I want to get back together with you, or she could say, I'm not ready. She goes with the latter, saying she's not ready to get back together, so he should do what he needs to, and she leaves, but there's definitely some hurt in her eyes. So is Callie in love with Aaron like Jimena says, and she's just afraid of diving into a serious relationship, or is there something else holding her back? Seems like we're just gonna have to sit and wonder, but that pretty much wraps up the events of this week's episode of The Fosters, so let's take a look at the sneak peek for next week.
Your para's got a nice parrot.
Yeah, some guy passed me that in class today.
Well, what did you say to him?
He said that he wanted Priya to sit on his...
Mariana!
What? You did, I heard you.
Jesus, why would you say something like that?
Mama, it's just, like, guy talk.
Alrighty, that pretty much is it for this one. Hit the comments down below and let me know your thoughts on this episode. Do you think it is Tess that is triggering Stef's anxiety, or is there something else buried deep down in Stef that she's repressing that could be triggering it? Will Declan continue to cross the line and make Jude have to come to a decision about this whole gaming thing? Do you think Brandon will have to make a decision about Grace's life at some point this season? And what do you think about Callie and Aaron? Let me know along with all your favorite and least favorite moments down in the comments. After that, you can click right over here to see my interview with the cast of Bad Moms Christmas, which is on DVD now, or some TV shows turning 10 this year. Subscribe if you like what you see, and I will see you guys again real soon.